Hello everyone, this is POW Ponder on Weather. In this update, we're going to be talking about a dynamic storm system with some damaging 70 plus mile per hour winds and a major flood risk. So if you do like weather related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. So let's get right to it. This is your June 30th update. And what we're looking at here is the overall 500 millibar pattern. And you can definitely see it's been a dominating force with an omega block for much of the country, with it sending record high temperatures. And for much of the northwest, we still have that dominating ridge. And in fact, yesterday, parts of Canada, one town had all the way up to 121 degrees. I mean, just put that in perspective. The all-time record high in Texas is 120. So now we officially have a higher temperature ever recorded since they've been, keeping records, for Canada. So it's been an amazing, if not, historic, deadly heat wave up here in the Pacific Northwest. That's actually going to be shifting off a little bit further off to the east. But you look at this white here. This is actually some cooler air in the mid latitudes. That's the beginning stages. That's actually going to filter in, and some of these areas into the northeast. That'll be setting the stage for some severe weather that's going to be taking place. It's going to be starting over the next several hours going into the afternoon. So if we take a look at the latest Storm Prediction Center, they've actually highlighted an enhanced risk for severe weather. And the main threat from this system is going to be damaging winds, and up to 70 mile per hour winds at that. So places like in Boston, where you had a record high temperature yesterday of 99 degrees, you're going to be looking at some strong to severe thunderstorms with some of those higher wind gusts as we go through the into the afternoon hours, going into places like Springfield and to Manchester as well as Lowell. You're going to be under the gun, a little bit higher susceptibility for those damaging winds. And even places like into Pittsburgh, into Yonkers, and places like into Providence, into Syracuse, you're still going to be under the gun. Places along the coastline where they're going to be picking up a little bit more cloud cover, into New York City, into Philly, going into Indianapolis, Columbus, and all, as well as Baltimore, you're still going to be susceptible for seeing those strong to severe thunderstorms, but not as severe that they're going to be seeing possibly in portions of, say, the Ohio Valley, getting into Pittsburgh and going up into Boston. So if we take a look at the latest HRRR model of the high resolution model, I kind of depicted on where the cloud cover will be. Here's this afternoon, about 4 o'clock, I kind of timed this out. We could be looking at some strong, isolated, severe thunderstorms into portions popping up into Ohio, getting into Pennsylvania. These will still propagate down here into down to the south, but look at the scattered type variety. That's where it's a little bit more indicative of those stronger nature thunderstorms popping up in upstate New York, get into places like Vermont, New Hampshire, getting into portions of Maine. And this will continue shifting off into the evening hours as we go until about 8 o'clock. That's going to be reaching a line anywhere from Virginia all the way to the Jersey Shore of those stronger storms, as this will continue shifting off into the south into the evening hours. But in fact, the Storm Prediction Center has actually already highlighted a severe thunderstorm for the next several hours. As I was doing this video, they put it out at 12:45 Eastern Standard Time. It actually goes until 8 o'clock, and the watch would include eastern portions of central and northeastern portions of Ohio, and western and central Pennsylvania, as well as extreme northern West Virginia. And yes, the primary threat with this system has a moderate risk of severe wind up to 70 miles an hour as this will continue shifting across. So scattered thunderstorm clusters are expected to develop and spread northeastward across the eastern parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania through the afternoon and evening hours. And the main threat with this system would be your damaging winds, those like downburst straight line winds going to be taking effect. And it's not out of the question that some of these areas, say in Maine and upper Vermont, New Hampshire, could be a little bit more susceptible to picking up some of the larger hail, and maybe an isolated tornado is not out of the question for that region. So definitely be able to be weather aware as we go into the afternoon hours, going into the evening hours. But as we get into the day tomorrow, here's the dominant ridge. It's still the dark reds. I mean, it's going to be pretty much parked over, shifting off a little bit further off to the east. Places into Washington and Oregon, getting into Idaho. Still hot, but not as extreme as you were the last several days. This will continue shifting off into Canada. But you see the darkening blues up here in the Ohio Valley, where they're seeing those higher temperatures today ahead of that trough. This will deepen tomorrow and bring some of that cooler air, but it'll also help kind of nudge a cold front that's been kind of stalled down here in the central part of the country. That's going to help push the cold front a little bit further down to the south. You can definitely see on the latest surface map that where that cold front's going to lie. That's going to bring the overriding conditions and bring some of those rain showers into Kansas, into portions of Oklahoma, getting into Missouri, as well as Indiana and Illinois and Indiana, Kentucky, portions of Tennessee, getting into West Virginia, as well as Pennsylvania. These won't be severe by then, but you are going to be experiencing a lot of the rain along that boundary line of that cold front. And here, the Gulf is pretty much open for business with the south flow. And as this cold front will continue to shift further off to the south, that'll help create the showers and thunderstorms down here further into the south and southeast. But as we go into the day on Friday, that ridge of high pressure continues to dominate for much of the northern part of the U.S. This trough actually digs even further, so it's going to bring some even cooler conditions to much of the Ohio Valley. That'll sink even into portions of the southeast, getting in along the coastline of the eastern states into the Carolinas. Will experience some of those cooler conditions. But it's pretty much high and dry for much of the Pacific Northwest, with those higher temperatures and well above average temperatures taking place for Friday. Where that ridge is, you're not going to be able to see any rainfall, unfortunately, for much of the northwest and portions, much of the north. Around that boundary, as we go into the day on Friday the 2nd, we'll be looking at some heavier rains propagating south into Oklahoma City. Now this will filter into portions of the Texas Panhandle, into North Texas, getting into East Texas. This will be along the line of Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, getting into the Tennessee Valley, up along the coast into the Carolinas, even into Virginia. So all these areas will be hit with some heavier rains coming up on the day along that stalled frontal boundary. But as we take a look at the 500 millibar on the Saturday the 3rd, you can actually see the darker reds aren't as prevalent anymore. So it's still hot, but not going to be nearly as extreme of what you saw all week long. The trough is going to be setting up shop over the northeast. That's going to bring the cooler conditions to continue to amplify for them, as much of the south will definitely still experience those below average temperatures like you have been, because of that stalled front. And that stalled front will pretty much be elongated a little bit further south now. So now you're going to be starting to feel the effects into North Texas, into places like Austin, Waco, San Antonio, into Houston, and then further south into portions of New Orleans, Baton Rouge, all those areas along the southeast coast, into the Florida Panhandle. And down here to the right side of the screen, you can definitely see what will be probably Elsa by then, forming into the Caribbean with the tropical storm that's going to be pushing off. There's going to be another main player that we're going to have to be paying attention to as we go into early next week. And so, if we look at the day on Sunday, there would be your holiday on July the 4th. Definitely no red showing up. So the intense, extreme record high temperatures should be subsiding for a lot of the areas. Still well above average, but not as extreme as you have been experiencing for much of the Northwest and the North. So that trough will be a dominant force into the Northeast. We're bringing those much cooler conditions, and all the cloud cover and that stalled cold front along the south will keep you below average going into the day. On a Sunday, there's the stalled frontal boundary in the surface map. We'll just push a little bit further down to the south. So these rainfall totals are going to be looking at some flood risk by then, as these will add up over an extended period of time. So yes, by Sunday, you could be looking at some possibly flash flood watches happening along the coastline here. So if you live along the coast, off the southeast coast, off the Texas coast, even in the Florida Panhandle, don't be surprised if you got some flash flood watches kind of popping up by then, as that's before what would be Elsa coming out. Looks like it to be in and around the Jamaica area by the time we get it into Sunday afternoon. So that they definitely have to be on the lookout for this storm right here that's developing as we speak. So as we go into the day on Monday, most of you are going to be possibly off work, as would be your recognized national holiday since it falls on a Sunday. This would be Monday. There's your high temperatures. So like I mentioned, we're not seeing the 115s, fortunately, for much of the Northwest, but we are seeing some triple digits still taking effect into Washington, into Oregon, into Idaho, even in the Four Corners region. Of course, the desert Southwest will continue to remain hot. Getting into the central part of the country where we do have that trough, not nearly as cold as you are, but still experiencing those 80-degree temperatures and portions of Colorado, getting into your widespread 80s in Texas and much of the southeast, where they're going to be experiencing that stalled cold front. So yeah, some comfortable temperature, especially for the Northeast, coming up on Monday. Widespread 80s, so that should feel really nice for you guys. But yes, on Monday, that stalled cold front tends to fade and back up as a warm front. And when that does, that's just, again, it's going to open the door for Elsa to come further north from the Caribbean and possibly going into, this would be Cuba by now. So we're going to have to be looking at, that's going to be the main player for the U.S. starting early next week, of whatever will come out of the Caribbean in the form of Elsa will be our main player after we get through Monday with this stalled front. So hey, so I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.